What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Truck Driver Show YouTube channel. We're all Canadian, eh? What's up, bud? Alright, so as promised, I have the other preamp, aka distortion pedal from Airis Effects. It is called the Spec-Defier. Look at that. It's sexy time. It is. Sexy like a motherfucker. Alright, so yeah. Super duper simple pedal. We're gonna bang right through this like it's no one's business. If you know what the 51 Filthy is, which, hate to say it, but the 51 Filthy thing, and probably Richard's gonna want to kick me in my dick for this, but that pedal was so damn good. It was fucking awesome. And he's gone on to make that into 50 and 100 watt, and I think there's even a 10 watt solid state amp. I have a 100 watt, and it's freaking phenomenal. And this, where the 51 Filthy, think about the name, this is if a dual rectifier had a home. Same premise, right? So you have 3 knobs, chicken head. You have the treble, which obviously you're gonna add more spike, more high into your signal. It does what it does, right? Yeah, no craziness involved there. Never guess what the mids do. Happy you were wrong. This is not as much as adding mids. It kind of controls like where the parameter of the hertz sits. So it's more like a shape more than it is a mid-range. It works awesome. I prefer this over controlling my mids. If the circuit already has a sweet spot for mids, then being able to control where the mids sit, for me, the type of playing I do, which, I don't know, I'm a shitty guitar player, so for me, it works awesome. Bass, in my opinion, this knob could not be there and everything would be super duper cool, but because Richard thinks a little further ahead than I do, you have a little control over your low end, but you don't have a lot. Because this is already set up to do one thing that a dual rectifier doesn't do. That's be tight on its own. Yeah, this is non-snatch tight, but if you want to loosen it up a little bit, just a little bit, and kind of make it a little more woofy like you would your traditional dual rectifier, because let's face it, dual rectifiers are known for just being a muddy motherfucker. But we love them. Because they take boost pedals like no other. You know what I'm saying? That's right. Those who know. You have volume, which, I don't know how to explain what this does. Turns the fuck up. And then gain. This gain is a massive sweep. Little bit of turn makes quite a lot of change. You can go from playing. That didn't come out the way I thought it was gonna. You can do a little bit, so you could literally play blues, country on this, and it sounds really good. Or you can go all the way to like, you shouldn't be allowed to play with gain knobs type of gain. You know what I'm saying? Like those sludgy dudes that don't understand that you don't need that much gain in your fucking signal. You can get that out of it. Super easy. On and off. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook this up to the Redbeard Grendel 50, which is just a clean power amp. Runs off EL34s. Everything on it. It's just a neutral setting. It's just power from the tubes is going to drive it. Everything else, all sounds, will come from this. The Spec-Defier. If you want to pick one up, if you're in the motherland of Canada, it is 209 Canadian rubles or whatever the fuck it is that Monopoly looking money shit they have is. Not quite positive, but I thought I saw Fu Manchu on the 20, but I'm not positive. But they got some fucked up looking cash. Or you can, US currency is 154. Anywhere else on this fucked up planet you live, use Google. They'll tell you what it costs. Just put in 209 CA2, whatever your fucking currency is. And it will tell you what it's going to cost you. Shipping is a nominal fee based on region. It's different for everybody. And none for nothing. I will say this in every fucking video I do for Airis Effects. Give some love to the dog. This dog takes these to the post office. How fucking cool is that? One of these days I am going to put together a care package for that dog. And I've said this a few times too. Richard probably gets enough gifts, enough high fives. But I think we should all get together and send some treats up to that little four-legged beast. Alright? Very cool. I'll also be using my old beaten and true, I mean beaten to shit, because I love that guitar. Say what you want, man, but that guitar, I pick it up and I'm just like, ooh, fuck yeah. It's such a good guitar. It is the Smoke by Guerrilla Guitars. Gus over there, he sometimes he's a tricky motherfucker to deal with, but he builds amazing guitars. You know, I don't know why people don't talk more about Guerrilla. I'm gonna go with the fact that they're not in the forefront like everybody else is. You know, he's a small builder. He doesn't have the budget to like go, oh, I'm gonna build 15 guitars and give them away to YouTubers to hope I sell 20 guitars. He's not built for that. He knows his builds are worth money, and sometimes I think he thinks they're worth more than they are. But hey, personal preference. I will say this though, he'll build you a guitar that plays amazing. And if you're unhappy with it, something shows up where you don't think it's the quality you should be getting, he is always, to my knowledge, because I know a few cases where he's done this, he wants the guitar back so he can do it the way it's supposed to be done. Not everything comes out perfect. You know, it just doesn't. And if you catch it not perfect, yeah, it's embarrassing for him, I imagine. Imagine it's fucking increasingly embarrassing for him. But he stands by his work, and he'll fix you up. Anyhow, we're not here to talk about Guerrilla Guitars. We're here to talk about Airis Effects. Oh, and the sound will be coming out of my custom Arachnid 2x12 speaker. Today's speakers are DV77 and Man of War by Eminence. All right, enough of me yapping my fucking suckhole. Let's watch some Batman footage, or Fat Man footage, if you will. And yeah, you watch that. I'll hook this up and we'll play some rippy riffs. All right, to the Fat Man. All right, so we're back. Got everything at noontime on the pedal. As to show you that we're on the clean. It's a power amp, folks. It's just gonna sound clean. All right, let's turn this thing on, see what we have with everything at noon. As you can tell, right at noon, you can just get away with this. Throw an overdrive pedal on that, and you don't need nothing else. So we're gonna find sweet spot on the volume. Here we go. All right, sweet spot on the volume is all set. Couple times. Mids! Let's do some mids! Airis! How low can you go? Let's roll! Here's the brother no! again. Gain and pain, pain and gain. Let's do this shit again. Buckets and buckets and buckets of gain. We turn it and burn it again. Alright, this is Dalgan in Cool Town. Say our goodbyes. I said, guitar time, man. All right, folks. There you go. That is the Spec-Defier. What a great addition to the stuff that he's doing right now. I mean, really, at this point in time, all you need is a power amp. By the way, he actually has, I think it's a 100 watt or a 50 watt, maybe even a 60, I don't know, solid state pedal board amp. That's just, it's a clean amp. It's just a power amp. It's not out yet, but it exists. Don't know if I'm going to have one yet or not, because I have so many other ones right now, but it, I'd be remiss to say if it wasn't on my list, but money, right? All right, very cool. Thank you all for tuning in. If you'd be so kind, just to smash that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It helps me out a shit ton. Obviously, I can't afford to buy a ton of stuff, and borrowing stuff is kind of the new way I'm doing things. I'm done buying. I got so much shit in here, I almost want to have a fucking yard sale. All right, my folks. Y'all be good. Don't let your meatloaf. And don't kiss your mother on the mouth. I've been there. Catch you next video. Later.